If Lucasfilm and Star Wars and the Walt Disney Company thought that audience review scores could not get worse following the season premiere of The Acolyte, they were in for a rude awakening as the scores have plummeted since the release of the third episode that introduced lesbian witches. Before we get to this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. Wrote this up over at thatparkplace.com. And we have the receipts following the release of the first two episodes. The audience score on Rotten Tomatoes actually sat at 32% with an average rating of 2.1 out of 5. It has now declined to 20% with an average rating of 1.5 out of 5. You can even see even the critic score has declined from 93% to 85%. So even the critics are turning on this show because it is absolutely dog crap. It is incredibly boring. And I think that's the worst part of the show, regardless of all the absolutely inane, stupid, canon destroying things that they introduce in this episode. It's boring. The show is just simply boring. On IMDb, the score initially sat at a 5.1 out of 10, albeit the unweighted mean was 4.4, and the plurality of votes were a 1 out of 10. You can see right here, it was at like 38.8%. So with around just shy of 4,000 total reviews of a 1 out of 10. Now, the score has fallen to a 4 out of 10, with the unweighted mean a 3.5 out of 10. And this is the big one here. Almost a majority of all reviews are a 1 out of 10. Look at this. So close to a majority. 49.5% of all reviews are a 1 out of 10. One can only imagine what it would be like if IMDb allowed people to rate the show a 0. One would assume that most of those 1 out of 10s would probably be a 0. People did not like this episode. They did not like this show. They do not like this show. I really like this right here. If you look at the reviews per episode, it clearly shows that viewers did not like the third episode. The first episode received a 5.8. You can see right there, 5.8 out of 10. The second episode, a 5.6, so marginally lower. And then the third, 3.7. It was even worse. But it gets even better. Look at how many total reviews there are. Total reviews for the first episode, 11,000. It declined by over 1,000 to the second one, 9.9, even though the two episodes were back to back. So that means that a significant portion of people tuned out. They tuned out from the first and second episode, even though they were back to back. They were released on the same night. And then you look at the third episode, it's only at 7.5. So if you go from the first episode to the third episode, that's nearly a third of the audience, or at least a third of the reviewers. And if you extrapolate to that potentially total audience, a third of the audience tuned out of the third episode. I know a lot of people are saying that you might see a spike with the third episode because people were tuning in to see the train wreck, and then you would see the drop in the fourth episode. But it's possible that people tuned out of the third episode because they just didn't even care about watching the train wreck. It's probably for the best because ultimately it was just boring. It was utterly boring. Metacritic is the only site where we didn't see any changes. 4.1 was the user score after the first two. Initially had 100 positive reviews, 19 mixed reviews, and 166 negative reviews. It still sits at a 4.1. The positive reviews have increased by about 3 times. We've got 61 mixed reviews. Again, that's about 3 times. And then the negative reviews are just shy of 600. So again, that's still around 3 times, maybe a little more than 3 times. But it still sits at 4.1. And these negative reactions come in the wake of an extremely soft opening debut as far as viewership. We had data analytics company Illuminate reporting that the first 2 episodes only garnered 210 million minutes watched in the United States between May 31st and June 6th. For comparison, according to Nielsen, which also tracks minutes watched in the United States, it reported that Ahsoka's 2-episode premiere brought in 829 million minutes. So that's what, 619 million minutes viewed difference. That is a ton. Huge, huge ton. And the total minutes viewed for the both episodes isn't that different. I think it's what, 73 minutes and 55 seconds for the Acolyte for both episodes. I think Ahsoka was around 100 minutes. So only about a 27-minute difference between the two shows. That obviously does not make up for that massive 600 million minutes difference there. And if we even look at the Walt Disney Company's data, I cannot believe they posted this. They posted this on their website. They're bragging about it, saying it brought in 4.8 million views in its first day and 11.1 million globally after 5 days. And I guess they're just trying to dupe people, saying like it's the biggest Disney Plus premiere in 2024 and trying to sell it that way. But this is abysmal, absolutely abysmal. And because if you take into how they actually measure a view, or how they say they measure a view, they say they measure a view by total stream time divided by runtime. So given that the Acolyte's total runtime was 73 minutes and 55 seconds, the total global minutes viewed was around 820 million minutes. You compare that to what Nielsen is saying just in the United States for Ahsoka, the Acolyte did worse globally than Ahsoka did just in the United States. That is how bad this show is performing. People are not watching it at all. It is an unmitigated disaster on all fronts. People hate it. They're not watching it. And it is destroying the Disney brand. It's destroying the Star Wars brand. People who are saying that they love this stuff are ruining their reputations because people are obviously figuring out that they're just lying. Because as much as people want to say, oh, art is subjective, it's just not true. It is objective. There are standards for art, and the Acolyte does not meet any of those standards. It is terrible. I think financial analyst Valiant Renegade, he has his own analysis, which you can watch in the article. I'll leave the link to the article in the description below. He does a really good analysis comparing to House of the Dragon. I cannot wait for his analysis when House of the Dragon premieres later this month. But he aptly describes the viewership of the Acolyte as an absolute trash fire. And I don't think it gets any better than that, because that is indeed what it is. They are literally burning Star Wars. They're burning it to the ground. But let me know what you guys make of this. What do you make of these user scores? What do you make of people lampooning this? I'm kind of loving it because they're clearly promoting a cult, satanic, demonic garbage. And it's really fun to see people rejecting this stuff, rejecting this trash, and saying no. And I love it, and I'm here for it. And I can't wait to keep covering it because it is good to see people saying no to evil. But let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, but to always speak the truth.